Welcome to Radiant Homes, dear viewer. My name is Diane Owino, and I'm joined by my husband.
My name is
Andrew Owino. Oh, you forgotten your name?
Andrew.
Okay, sometimes I call him Honey Owino, so he forgets his name sometimes. And the last time we were on this show, we spoke about power dynamics. And today we want to bring this conversation a notch higher by speaking about broken walls.
I'm just wondering how broken walls can be part of Radiant Homes. But things break in a home, right?
Very many things break. Like, for example, my grandma bought me a pot as one of my birthday. No, it was a wedding gift, not birthday gift. I don't know for what reason she bought me a pot.
I remember that pot, yeah, but it got broken somewhere.
Yeah, and I really felt bad that it got broken. But I'll tell you what I did with it at the end of this show. What do we do with broken things? But I felt really bad that that pot was broken. You know, we treasure wedding gifts. That was one broken gift. The other one that got broken was a vase. It was a lovely white vase. My classmates knew that I love vases and wall hangings, and so they bought me a vase. And when that vase broke, I almost cried. It was a very expensive vase, but I did something with it. Watch till the end so that you know what I did with it.
Friends, as we talk about Radiant Homes again today on this subject of brokenness, my mind thinks about why generally things break. One is just overuse.
Okay.
Somebody said, Jim Rohn, he said, everything by longevity goes off course. Health overused over time. As you keep living, your health will be broken. As you keep using a plate, it could be carelessness, apart from overuse, carelessness. I don't know, but there are many reasons why things can break. It could be mishandling. You didn't have the instructions of handling it. Not just things, but lives can also break out of just normal, everyday dynamic.
Hold on a bit. When you say misuse, what do you mean? Like when it comes to a marital context, can you misuse your spouse? Is it being married for long?
Yeah, of course, when you get married for long, you get tired and certain things start getting broken. That's a normal law.
Yes, some people have actually referred to it that this was a concept. You'll find it in psychology, which some people got from a certain movie. I don't know why. It's called the 7-year itch or the marital itch. You get to 7 years and you're like, is this the guy I married? I think he has such a big head.
You start getting used to each other and you start taking yourself for granted, but you don't know that inside there is a craving of human beings for new things. Everybody likes me coming on the show looking sharp again every other day. Nobody loves broken things. You see, I remember when I left campus, I had good dreams, big dreams. I left school with a bachelor's in electrical engineering, just hoping that I would walk down the street and the employer would call me and say, you guy, you need to get a 6-figure salary tomorrow. Shock on me. My first job was a choir trainer. And then I went to sell insurance. I was so broken. Disillusionment. Just the things that go the way you don't like. And these things affected even the way I opened up to life. How I opened up to things like marriage. And even inside marriage, when something you cherish, a hope you wanted, does not come, it breaks you. I didn't get your permission on this, but allow me to say, as we speak here, some things are original and good on screen. This is 8 years of marriage. Some of you ask, I got a text the other day of a friend who we have not talked to. She asked me, how are the kids? Well, we don't have kids. Not because we don't want. It's a brokenness that it was a dream we had, but it's not yet been accomplished. In this show, we would like to talk to you how to deal with things that are so disillusioning inside marriage that could cause brokenness.
Exactly. And on that subject, since you brought it up, sometimes it's the comments of people.
Other people.
And not just your own perception, you know. You walk into church and that day you're bloated and somebody comes palpating your abdomen and they're like, are you pregnant?
They start with congratulations.
Yeah, and sometimes it may point to a brokenness, or the comments from villagers, or
Reminds you.
yeah, or some people saying, maybe it's because you sinned against God, or because
Or
it's
they have weird solutions to your brokenness. But in this show, we'll tell you some of the stable solutions. They can tell you, drink this. You can imagine how much we have been offered to drink.
exactly. And so brokenness is a huge subject in many homes that a lot of the times would rather not speak about or talk about at all. You'd rather run away from it and not face your own brokenness. But Nehemiah, before rebuilding walls, had to acknowledge that Israel had broken some
walls.
things. Before the walls were actually broken, there were things that were broken before that. Israel had gone into idolatry. Israel had walked away from God. And after years of walking away from God and going into idolatry, the walls were finally broken. And even in our homes, there are different forms of idolatry. Yeah, your spouse can become an idol. Your job can become an idol. Different things in the home can become so big of an idol that it leads you to brokenness, because idolatry can only lead you to brokenness. Yeah. Now, there are certain predictors of brokenness, or things that can lead you to a broken state, especially in communication. What are these?
Yeah, because we are speaking to families that maybe sometimes they're in a stalemate. They're not talking. Or maybe you've lost your good conversation with your children. People just like thinking about divorce between husband and wife. Do you know there's a young man who has divorced his father? They're not talking. Broken, like it's all cut and I don't care, or they've just turned away. There are 6 things that will surely lead to communication brokenness. It will lead to the relationship's death. And let's list some of them for you to think about.
This list is gotten from Dr. John Gottman's book, 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. It would be good for us to annex it. So what are they?
Because these 6 principles are so common. I see them every day. For example, when I have a problem and I start raising that problem with what he calls a hard, harsh start.
What's means, that?
I could raise an issue. For example, there is a day you cooked and put too much
food in the salt.
Oh, sorry. What you did. Yeah, something has gotten wrong with a system at home. It can be anything. It can be the way somebody parents, it can be the way I perceive this and the other.
Yeah.
So in my raising of the comment or the complaint, and we would like to say that homes should have openness to complain. A husband should come and complain. Children should complain. You call it customer care. But if the desk should be open, but if the complaint comes like this, you guys are not so wise to know the amount of salt that you need to put in food. Now, that has nothing to do with salt. That is about the wisdom of the person, and you quickly put the person at defense. It's a hard start, a harsh start.
Let me give you a different example. So, one time he's come home, and we love trees, and so that time he had traveled, and I'd asked one of our workers to shave the trees in a way that I liked, but he didn't like it.
Like you overshaved the tree.
Yes. So he arrives home, and instead of saying, I don't like how the trees have been shaven, he's like, you didn't supervise very well.
Now that's about the ability, the quality, and the character of the other person. And when you do that, that harsh start, definitely the person comes to defend. And it became really, really bad. We didn't talk until the trees grew again. Thank God for trees that grow. There is another predictor apart from harsh starts. And we want to ask you when you get home to try to raise your concerns in a soft start. What would be a soft start?
The Bible says a soft answer turns away wrath.
Do you know there's
Yeah.
a story I read in Gideon where these guys were angry at him? I think it's in chapter 4, the
Yeah.
book of Judges. And these guys are coming.
You
and
said
then-
you read it in Gideon. Is there a book?
the book of Judges in Gideon. The story I read in Gideon. Okay, Gideon was the guy. So Gideon meets
Okay.
these guys. They are angry about I don't know what. You can check it out. And then the Bible says Gideon answered them in a way that they just said, Sawabas. They just went back. And these were army men. And they were coming to hurt the next kingdom.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to learn how to do what we call soft starts. There is another predictor of divorce. Do you know it?
Okay, so
This is your favorite one.
these are the 4 horsemen, and those of you who read many books, you probably have come across this.
4 horsemen. It's a
Yeah.
predictor of divorce.
Yeah, and this is criticism.
The first horse is is criticism.
Yes.
We talked about that in one of the sessions.
I think we did.
Yeah,
yes,
in
the
a previous
second
session,
episode.
You'll hear us talking about criticism being a predictor of divorce. Something else?
The second one is contempt. Contempt is just, in Swahili, you'd call it madarau. Yeah? Or treating somebody as if they don't matter and that their actions don't count. Then,
Their presence doesn't count.
yes. Then you moved to, what is the third one? Defensiveness.
Defensiveness. Yeah.
Defensiveness is when you just want to protect yourself at all costs.
You don't take responsibility.
Yeah. And when you want to protect yourself at all costs, it means you will not take responsibility for your own actions.
Well, you see, this defensiveness is in our DNA because right from the days of Adam, the guy had learned how to shift blame to the wife. It's no wonder today everybody, you ask the guy, why are you broke? It's climate change, everything else except you. Why don't you do this? I mean, people have had a way of shifting blames. But I think the first point we want to begin is if we will send away this horseman, one of contempt, treat your spouse as significant. Yeah, defensiveness, take responsibility. Okay, what was the other horseman?
The other one is stonewalling.
Stonewalling, what's that?
Stonewalling is when you keep somebody out emotionally. You've built such a high wall that they can't see what's going on inside you.
You continue with your life like that.
Yeah. And the other things that happen is body language. Body language is the other predictor of divorce.
Yeah, you could tell the husband is speaking to the wife and their heart rate is just above. Unless you're a marathoner, a heart rate of 100 will kill you. If your husband starts speaking and then you just feel, you're just angry, that's a predictor. And here we like thinking, like John Gottman says, you need to look for ways of soothing yourself. When you realize something has irritated you, you can take a break. You'd say, I hear you say this, I would like to take a break. I feel I'm getting annoyed. You just look for ways of, it's called deconstruct. In fact, that leads us to the other horseman, which we would like to list all the 6. And when we come back, we will now look at what is the impact of these broken walls. There is also failed repair attempt. A husband and a wife are quarreling. And then the husband or the wife sends a message that says, it's not that serious. And the other guy just ignores. He continues quarreling, and the thing just escalates. We need to know how to repair when something has gone overboard. Maybe just turning to something else, bringing a little joke, accepting your personal responsibility. And the last one is what we call emotional processing. Sometimes somebody talks to you, you are into your bad childhood memories. Those are the things that you are concerned about. You're just concerned about how you've lost your job. So you don't even hear what the other person is saying. And we have seen in our own lives that these 6 things, you can even now replay the video. These 6 things will be a good predictor of brokenness. When we come back, we will tell you how we can repair broken walls to everyone. We will experience brokenness.
Welcome back to the show. This is Radiant Homes, and we are discussing communication in homes during this season. Today's lesson is on broken walls. And just before the break, we were speaking about the 6 predictors to brokenness or divorce, if you'd like. And you can go over them again. What were they?
Well, we listed number 1, hard start.
And number 2?
We talked about the
Horsemen.
4 horsemen.
And number 3?
Number 3 was stonewalling. I don't know if I listed them in the same.
Number 3 was body language.
Body language.
And body language here applies to, how you behave when someone is speaking with you. Sometimes you don't have to say something,
Just done.
but you could turn away, or you could act in
Put
a way
down
to
your
suggest
phone.
that I don't want you here. Like,
Finish and go.
a story is told of a certain husband who was so contemptuous towards the wife that he would sleep right in the middle of the bed. And he knew there was no other bed in that house where the wife could sleep.
Is that contempt?
That is...
Or you through body language.
Yes, it's
telling you need to find your own bed.
Yeah.
The other one is flooding. When someone is speaking and your temperature, pressure, enthalpy, everything rises, hair stands, like Nebuchadnezzar. I think it's time to take a break at that point.
Yeah, and the other one is just negative emotional memories. That some people could have built a negative emotional bank where all you remember, you
It's
hear
just bad.
something, you hear a certain word, and it reminds you of a negative thing. And sometimes in our homes, you find that all you remember is negative things.
And
Yeah?
we say that you can deliberately, like if you could go back to some of the previous shows, you'll find it encourages you to build positive memories, because that will work against negative memory. Naturally, as you go through life, some unpleasant thing will show up. And if you don't have any counter of positive things you've built around your children, around your spouse, you'll find these negative ones will overwhelm until you have no reason to hold. The wall goes down. So we ask you, as you think through these predictors of brokenness, we would also want you to prepare support. We want you to prepare, good foundations that even though the weight can be on it, like there was another one we talked about called failed repair attempt. You start a quarrel, the person tries to make a joke or tries to tell you it's not that serious. He wants to disengage from the ugly incident. You just continue. You see, if you don't know how to learn your spouse, then that you will even miss that moment. We'd like you to take some moment today and just experiment some of these things that are against what breaks these boundaries by rebuilding them.
All right, and so there are certain walls that are actually broken in many homes. All right, one of them is financial walls.
Allah.
Maybe you can tell us how financial walls are broken.
Money. But you see, you could say, some of us say, oh, I don't want a lot of money. Yeah, I want little money. But you see, even if you are in love, you can't eat love. It is money that buys the things that you eat while in love. Yeah, a lot of people don't have a correct view about money. Like, for example, I came from a very humble and financially broken background. And you see, if you set up your home in a place where there is no money, or money is a problem, there could be money, but money is also a problem, then that's a serious brokenness. Because everything around home is facilitated by money. We wear clothes that money buy. So some people say, oh, it is the love of money which is the root of evil. I think it is the lack of money also which is the root of a lot of evil. So homes need to have setups where their financial walls are well built.
Okay.
This can take the following form. Maybe we need to start by having, do people have a financial vision? Where are you going? It's easier to save if you have an objective we are going to build. It is easier to save if we're going to do a business. But a lot of us think, okay, let's go borrow. But even as you borrow, you don't involve your wife, because that's another wall that you need to build. The wall of unity around financial structures, whether it's a debt or it's an asset. Like most of the things we buy, we put our names together if it's an asset, including liabilities as well. There's a story in the Bible.
Oh, the one. Okay, I was going to
I'll-
share another story. Not
you
the
can
one
share
in the
that
Bible.
first, then I come back. Because finance is a serious issue on homes, and it causes, actually, it is one of the top reasons for brokenness. So share that.
So we read a story sometime of a certain man who was struggling at work to pay rent. And so he would go to work and struggle, and he would come and pay rent. Only after several years to realize that the building in which he was paying rent to actually belonged to the wife,
Aye.
and that the person who was receiving the rent was the wife. And so you can imagine the brokenness of this man when he realizes that I have suffered this much, but the person who was making me suffer this much was
here.
my wife. And so when you are not united financially, and when you're not disclosing, and this sometimes happens to some women, and it happens both ways, where women will say his money is ours,
Our money.
and my money is mine. And then there are other men who will fail to disclose. They'll only disclose their salary, but should they have some extra trips or per diem here and there, you don't disclose per diem and the extra monies. You only disclose salary.
When when you want to give money to your family members, you know, you turn like this, and then you. I think that is stonewalling in a way. Finances need to be one of the places where open and honest conversations can begin.
Yeah, so openness in terms of income, but also openness in terms of expenditure. Because some people who are shopping addicts will shop, but not disclose how much they shopped for, what they shopped. You always just see a new dress here, a new shoe here, and you're wondering, okay, so where did this come from?
But are we saying that everything a husband buys, a wife must know? Everything a wife buys, a husband must know? Well, the principle here is accountability. In terms of one, the getting of the money. Some spouses don't even know what their spouses do, and that is bad. Now, that is a broken wall in itself. You need to know how much you expect, what is his growth, and then you can now even say, okay, if he's growing at this rate and the children are growing at this rate, kule mbele will have a problem. So you share in the vision of both getting the money, then the vision of even distributing or dispensing of the money. A budget will help you in principle of how to operate a home. We have worked on budgets, and we have had a budget that works on principle. We have a percentage type, we have a percentage home issues, we have a percentage for this. So everybody knows that the money that comes, we put it together, the percentages go here. So it doesn't matter who executes it. And then it's also just good discretion to allow, there are things, there is a workmate of mine who will die, or a relative of a workmate, and I need to contribute. But the agreement. So my mind was thinking about the story where this prophet borrows a loan, he dies. The wife is being asked to pay the loan, and the creditor has come to pick the children. And that story is an interesting story of biblical family financial disclosure.
It's in 2 Kings chapter?
Chapter 4.
Okay.
You remember it right.
All right.
So look here. The day you are going to take the loan, the wife didn't know. Now you are dead. Now she's paying. The children are being taken into. There is nothing you can tell me and say, oh, this is my money. There is nothing like your money. When you are committing it to betting and every other thing, it might be you. But when you are out of the picture, your children will be part of it. It is important that children are also taught the instruments of making money, spending money. Children need to know where you get your money. For these things will help them not become slaves of every day that we, the things we see today.
And it is important also to be stewards to God, because when you are not faithful stewards in the home, you find things start breaking financially. There is a principle you taught me from the story of Ananias and Sapphira. This was a couple who had vowed certain things to God, and they were not coerced into vowing. But when they come before God, they decide to lie before God, and a question of grace comes to them. And Peter asks, is this all?
Let's stretch that question. Do you know people need to be asked here, is this all? Like, is this all you can make? You know, the husbands who are lazy, number one, they men who are lazy to be kept by women. Is this all you can bring into the relationship? Sometimes we even bring crumbs of emotional, investment. Is this all?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
And I like that question too. Is this all you can make? Is this all you can become? Is this all God requires of you? Is this all you can give to God's service? Because when you don't answer that question honestly and come before God and say, God, we've not given our all.
And that makes me to think, there is no day you can say, we are building a wall and we are building only that side. Or we are building a small part. When you come to build walls, you must decide to build everything. Right from financial walls to spiritual walls, right?
And those spiritual walls many times are broken in our homes. It is unfortunate, reading from the story of Saul, that when people get into areas of brokenness, some families decide to venture into fields that God explicitly has spoken against. When Saul became broken and realizes that he is out of favor with God, he decides to go and look for the woman of Tekoa. Yeah?
Was it woman?
It was...
There was some woman in... what is that place?
Where am I forgetting?
Even me, I forgot
I'm forgetting the name of the place. But the woman was a seer, or a witch doctor, if you'd like.
Yeah, Endor.
Yeah? Yeah, the witch of Endor.
Ah, we got it.
Not Tekoa. Yes.
Sometimes bad things can make you lose faith and go into even the devil's ground.
Exactly. There are people who go into the devil's ground. And I like saying that when you walk around the streets of Nairobi or Kenya and you see some places written, tunatibu ndoa, many other things, daktari kutoka Kitui, daktari kutoka wherever, the reason those adverts are there, it is because there are people who consult them. And the reason why people consult them is they have lost faith in God. Spiritual walls are broken. Yeah.
Today, we want to ask you to take a moment and just do a count of what is broken in your home. Is it financial? Is it conversation? Have you turned your hearts against each other? And then Jesus says, bring all that brokenness to me. I remember a story of this church that had a statue of Jesus. And then while they were building, the arm of Jesus got broken. So the church board sat and said, let's fix the arm. An old man says, no, don't fix the arm. Leave it broken because it will be a good reminder. The brokenness should not be on you and it should not be on Jesus as well. So decide where it should be. Take it to God. And he will heal us.
And God loves broken things.
Really
in fact, sometimes it takes a broken thing to build a huge monument. I'll tell you what I did with my pots.
I was waiting for that before we close.
So I took those pots, my grandma's pot and my classmate's vase, and I decided to build a fountain. I call it my love fountain. And so people passing there nowadays stop at the front of my gate. They take photos there. They don't know that those pots initially caused me a lot of pain. But today, looking at them, I imagine that that fountain would never have been there if those pots were not broken. And so sometimes God will take us through different broken experiences because he wants to build us into better people. So don't be afraid of brokenness. Pick up the broken pieces and bring them to the Lord. God bless you.